Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ice Cold Takes podcast. I'm your host, Joey DeMeglio, and the regular season is finally underway for the New York Rangers. Joining me this week is the host of the Blue Crew podcast, Jonny Lazarus. We have a lot to get to in this episode, so let's get into it. But first, how are you, Johnny? Thanks for joining me.
I'm good. I hope it was easier to track me down than Kevin Weeks. I don't know if that was, a tough get for you, but I'm really happy to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was infinitely many times easier to recruit you. One simple message. Hey, do you want to do the podcast in the next 2 weeks? Sure. I'm down for whatever. Perfect. Love it. Kevin Weeks, it's like I have to go on, I don't even know. I have to hire like assassins or something like that for him. Just all over the place. But I'll ask you about that because you kind of reached out like midway through my hunt for Weeksy, and you kind of helped me out there. But I'll ask you. So,
Yeah, I thought it was
how did you?
awesome.
Yeah, thank you. How did you get started? Like, I know you work for Bleacher Report, and now you do the Blue Crew podcast. But you told me you're dipping your feet into a lot of different areas right now in terms of content creation. So, why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I'm doing some, video content stuff for Bleacher Report this season, and I also write for Covers, Action Network, and Dimers in the sports betting world. If you follow those companies, they're great, and actually off to a really hot start to this NHL season. I've been tweeting about it and bragging about it for the last couple of days, but I'm 7-0 right now, so I'm on a heater to start the season, which is very rare for me. I never really win this much in a row, so I'm definitely due for a couple losses, I think, here and there, but I'm feeling good, man. Like the NHL is when you really know it and you really follow it, I think it's one of the easier sports to bet on. So it's been really fun, but obviously I do the Blue Crew podcast as well. So definitely doing a lot of different stuff in hockey, which is awesome because I love this game more than anything.
I saw you were hanging out with Mikko Rantanen, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
Colorado. That was pretty
yeah, that was
recent,
cool.
huh?
Yeah, I was in Denver on Tuesday and DC on Wednesday. Did a little interview with Rantanen on
Wow.
Tuesday and then flew to DC Tuesday night and did an interview with Charlie Coyle after the Bruins morning skate on Wednesday, which was a lot of fun. And those guys were awesome. They were so nice, so easy to work with. And pretty outgoing guys too, right? If you watch those videos, like, I know they're short. They're like a little, minute and a half, like TikTok, Instagram reel kind of videos, but you can kind of get a sense of their personality in that short amount of time.
Yeah, I did like how Mikko Rantanen was like, "Oh, I play AC/DC"
Yeah.
to warm the guys up in the locker room. Like, that's a culture guy. I love it. I
Yeah,
love
for
it.
sure.
And he was on my fantasy team last year and did tremendous work helping me win the
Mhm.
title.
Off
The
to a
guy's
hot
a
start too. He had 4 points in his first game.
woo. I don't have him this year, I don't think, but yeah, he's
You don't think? You don't
he's
know who's on your team?
yeah. Well, in my one league, yeah, I know for sure who he's not on my team, but I have another league that I haven't paid attention to.
Mhm.
But yeah, Rantanen did work for me in fantasy last year. But I mean, you were certainly busy on Tuesday, so you didn't catch as much of the Rangers home opener
Mhm.
as like I guess I did. But what stood out to you? What stood out to you in that game from what you were able to see?
So I saw the first period for the most part, then I flew, from Denver to DC, so I missed the entire second and third period. I watched some highlights, but obviously you can't really get a feel for the game just from
Yeah.
highlights. It's pretty tough, and I don't wanna, make up some lies saying like, "Oh, I thought they played great," but, from what I saw, I mean, first of all, let's be real. The power play has looked, which I can't believe has looked better than last year, because last year they were a top 5 power play in the league the entire season. But I tweeted this tonight, and I don't think I've ever seen a Rangers team in my lifetime with as much skill throughout the lineup as this team has. Like from Panarin all the way down to even like Zach Jones, like a guy like that. Like Jones played great tonight. Him and Schneider have
Oh
looked
yeah.
really good as the third pair. Like there's not a weak link on this team. Like, you can argue maybe some guys on the fourth line don't have a ton of skill, but top to bottom, like these guys
Right.
can flat out play. They fly, they move the puck well. Like this team is just so fun to watch. And that power play unit, the first unit, they were great, I thought, in the first game from all the highlights I saw. I know Kreider had a couple doorstep chances there, and he kind of made up for it tonight with that first goal, that great backdoor pass from Mika, which started from the Panarin cross ice pass. So, yeah, man, I think the power play, and I think that's going to drive us all year. Like I was a little nervous, and I'll be honest, like I didn't really have the highest of expectations before the season started. Not that my mind's changed so much from these first two games, but the big narrative last year before the deadline was the Rangers' lack of 5-on-5 scoring, and they relied too much on their power play, and that could be the case again this year. But if their power play clicks like it has in the first 2 games, like, who cares, man? Like, they're scoring.
So far, they look really good at even strength. And the power
Mhm.
play, I think even the second unit looks good. Like tonight,
Yeah.
the second unit looked great. They didn't score a
Yeah.
goal, but they looked awesome.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and you replace Strome with Trocheck, and now you have an actual viable option for faceoffs in case Zibanejad gets thrown out, or if you start with Trocheck, he gets thrown out and Zibanejad goes in. Perfect. It's awesome. And one thing that the Rangers power play does super well that power play units of years past under Alan Vigneault, David Quinn, John Tortorella that they didn't do well is they hold the boards. Adam Fox is always on the boards holding that puck
Mhm.
in. How many times have you seen like him make an acrobatic play or Keandre Miller make an acrobatic play to keep the puck in the zone? Like that's a huge deal. That'll pin them in for like another 15, 30 seconds, right? And that leads to another more opportunities because the players on the other end, they're bound to get tired at some point.
Well, also to that point, like, as a forward, I played right wing, so like I kind of can attest this a little bit. When you have a guy like Fox back there, you're a little more hesitant to back check because you have a feeling he's going to keep the play alive. So like, we see a guy like Hedel not even hesitate to get in the back check, just stay net front, and he gets rewarded with that goal tonight, right? So like, I think the guys it just shows how much they trust him back there that they're willing to give it an extra second or two before they really get on their horse and get in the back check because they know when Foxy or Miller are out there, like the play is always alive, like to your
Mhm.
point, what you just said.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring up back check, and we haven't really talked about it on the show, but I've talked about it like off the air with some people, like, oh, this player doesn't back check too often. This guy doesn't do this. I think that's a pretty viable explanation for why a player might not back check because they think Fox is so skilled and adept at keeping the puck in the offensive zone. I never really looked at it from that perspective.
Well, I'll tell you what, they back checked a whole lot harder last year when Georgiev was in net too, right? So like you got to
Oh
think about that
yeah,
too. When Igor's in net, they're like, okay, maybe he'll bail me out here, So like that creeps into your mind a little bit also. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's not like it's an excuse. Like I don't think they don't work hard, but sometimes your instinct just says like, they got me, like I'm okay. And that kind of happened last night too, like on the short or not last night, the first game, the shorthanded goal with Mika and Laugh, like they're shorthanded. Mika's chilling by the blue line, like he knows Foxy or Miller. I forgot who made that pass. It might have been Truba actually, is getting in
yeah,
the
it was
puck,
Truba.
So, I think they just read off each other so well. Like that's really what it is.
Last year, they relied too much on the goaltender, obviously,
Mhm.
too. And in addition to what you said about the power play, I thought game one was a complete effort. And a lot of people felt the same way, at least on the timeline on Twitter. Um,
The TL.
yeah, like, the TL. They did, they really outplayed Tampa Bay all 3 periods. They outchanced them, they outshot them. They won, they won 60 something percent of their faceoffs. That was incredible. Trocheck won 10 of 16. That
Yeah,
is
I was just
a
looking now. Actually, the
breath of
Rangers are
fresh
first in
air.
the league, 63.8%.
Yeah, I don't know what the faceoffs were tonight, but game one, especially in the first period, I wrote about this in my article for this week. Rangers won 12 of 14 faceoffs in the first period. When's the last
Mhm.
time you've seen that happen?
Not even just them, like anyone.
That's
You
like
know.
instant puck possession right there. Perfect.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Trocheck's already, making an impact here. He had his first goal tonight
Mhm.
against the Wild, which is good for him. Good for him. He's playing really well. And Lafreniere is bumped up to that line, not the top line, that line. Kako is taking place on the right wing on Mika Zibanejad's right, and on the same line as Kreider. I thought Kako looked really, really good in game one, especially in the first period.
Mhm.
Uh, he drew 2 penalties. I don't know if you were able to see that.
I saw those.
Yeah. Yeah, so he looked great, and then tonight he had this fantastic, absolutely beautiful move. Mike Rupp broke it down from his TV screen. That was awesome. But Kako, a la Traverse City, did a
Yeah.
full circle around the net and made a power move on Fleury and got it in between the wickets. Unbelievable move. The kid's going places. I'm not ready to give up on him yet.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, it's interesting, right? Because like this isn't a new Capo Caco. Like we've seen him try these same moves before. Like, that goal he had tonight, obviously you mentioned Traverse City, but that's kind of similar to the goal that was called off in the Penguin series in game 1 when he, drove the net and I still think he got pushed in.
Me too.
But Kako, like he's always been a guy that's been able to lower his shoulder and use his body to protect the puck and get to the net. And, he does look a little bit faster. Maybe that's something he focused on in the offseason. But, this is the player that we thought we were going to get. And you got to give him credit too, right? Like he's still a young kid, right? He's only like 20 or 21 years old. I'm not sure his exact age, but I know he's, just about legal to drink if he even is. So, I mean, it is like a development thing where sometimes it just takes guys a little bit longer than others. Like, we kind of saw it Jack Hughes' first year in the NHL. He struggled a little bit. Now people are saying he's a 100-point scorer. Like, it kind of just takes time to find yourself in the leagues. And it also takes time to find yourself off the ice too, right? Like he's a young Finnish kid living in New York City, tough to get acclimated to New York. I don't know where you're located. I'm sure you're in the New York area, right? Where are you?
New Jersey.
You're in Jersey, right? Yeah, I actually thought I knew that. Where in Jersey are you?
Central Jersey, the part of New Jersey that does not exist.
Got it. Okay. But can you imagine, being a young, like 18, 19-year-old kid, doesn't speak English, living in New York City? Like it's a tough adjustment.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
For
once
sure.
he finds himself off the ice, he's just gonna, have that translate on the ice. So I think we're gonna see that a lot this year.
I feel the same way about Kravtsov too, because
Mhm.
this is still new to him.
Yeah.
And then there's the language barrier too. I think is a big deal. And then Kravtsov, poor him, he got injured in his first game
Mhm.
and first couple shifts. So we're trying to figure out what's going to happen with him. Some people are already saying he's too soft. I mean, I think you got to give the kid a break. Everyone wrote him off the moment he was drafted. The D+ 1 year, he proved everybody wrong. Kind of like
Mhm.
Kristaps Porzingis.
Oh my God.
Uh,
Don't
you know,
compare Kravtsov to Porzingis.
yeah, well, like everyone was booing Porzingis when he was drafted. I don't watch
Yeah.
basketball, but I remember when
Oh,
Porzingis
you
was
don't you
drafted.
don't watch basketball. Yeah. He actually did. No, he did in his rookie year prove people wrong, but he then
Right.
turned out to be like the correct, you know. The
Yeah,
initial instinct on Porzingis turned out to be correct, but he did have a good rookie year and prove
right.
people wrong.
Right.
But then
So,
in the end,
but I think you got to give. Okay, but like in that
yeah,
beginning
yeah,
stage
yeah,
though. All right, there we go.
yeah,
See what I mean? I don't watch basketball, so I
yeah.
wouldn't know. But I knew he was viral in his rookie year.
Mhm.
At least when he was on the Knicks, he was a good player.
Yeah.
And then with Kravtsov, he proved fans wrong in his D+ 1 year. Everyone's saying we should take Wallstrom. What did Wallstrom do his D+ 1 year? Not as much as Kravtsov. Kravtsov tore up the KHL, one of the hardest leagues to play in the world, and now he's back on the Rangers. So I think give him time, and I think he'll do it again. And that's my ice cold take of the week. I think he'll prove everybody wrong again.
That's your ice cold take of the week. I love that.
Yep, that's it's a thing we got to do here. Promote the show.
Yeah.
Uh, cold takes right
No, I
there.
love it. I
Yep.
love it. It looks good.
Yeah, yeah. $200 on this banner.
Well, it's
But
working
yeah,
for you.
yeah, I like it. I like it. But yeah, I think Kravtsov will hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later. And also, the top six right now is what fans have wanted to see for such a long time.
Mhm.
Kako and Lafreniere on the top six lines, the top two lines. That's exactly what the Rangers have needed. Yeah, maybe it's a little thin at the bottom, but we're still out with Blay. With Blay is still out, and Kravtsov is out now. So just imagine when those guys come back, what the holes are going to be like in the lineup. They're going to be plugged up. Heedle even scored a goal last tonight, so he's looking good. It's not like you take away Lafreniere and Kako from him. He's still a good player, and that's what we like. What I like to see. I'm glad that he was able to score a goal. He went to the dirty area of the net, which is where you have to go to score goals. Nice backhander off a rebound, garbage goal,
Mhm.
but I mean that's where goal scorers go. That's where Kreider made a living last year to get 50.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, you were a winger, so you know.
I scored my fair share of garbage goals. Probably the majority of mine were garbage goals, but I think that's something too. Like it's such a hockey cliche, but like when you're maybe, and I know it's only 2 games in, but like maybe when you're struggling to score, and Hedo last year, like only had I think 8 goals in the regular season, so like that's probably in the back of his mind. Like when you are struggling a bit, that's where you got to go, right? You got to like just go to the areas that not everyone wants to go to, and sometimes you just get that puck luck, right? Like he was in the right place at the right time, wide open net, banged it home. So, yeah, I think that's something that he learned probably too from like a Chris Kreider, you know. So, yeah, I think that's something big for Hito's development too, right? Is getting that net front game in his repertoire. Because last year I feel like he didn't really have much of a net front presence, I'd say, because he's like kind of a taller, lankier guy. But if he can be a little physical in the blue paint, he'll get double the amount of goals. So that's a good sign.
I also like his wrist shot too. I think he's got a good shot, and
Mhm.
that's where he scored a lot of his goals off shots in the playoffs,
In
at
the
least.
playoffs, yeah.
Yep.
A lot of
Yeah,
one-timers, honestly, which
a
is, like,
lot of
not usually
one-timers.
his thing.
Yep. He looked great in the playoffs. So if he could replicate that success, then big things will happen for him this year for sure.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Speaking of replicating success, I think the 60-minute effort is what a lot of fans, myself included, have been asking for the Rangers. I already mentioned that they relied too much on Shesterkin last year. You mentioned that they relied too much on the power play last season. But is it possible for them to do what they did tonight and game one against Tampa Bay? Do you think they could do it like maybe 50 times and get W's for the rest of the season? Or is this like just a hot start, would you say?
I mean, listen, there's gonna be times where, for example, like tomorrow will be a huge test, right? They're playing their first back-to-back against a Winnipeg team that's having their home opener, and it's gonna be a loud environment, and it's gonna be a little different than what tonight was. But I think throughout the year, there's just so many times where like when February comes around, it's like, we're almost at the playoffs, lights at the end of the tunnel, like you're kind of tired, but you're having to, get yourself up for games. And it is a grind, man. Like it's a long season, a lot of travel, a wear and tear on your body. So there are going to be spurts where, I'm sure they lose 4 or 5 in a row. It's just part of it, it's part of the process. So I think if they can sustain this play for the majority of the season, like, yeah, of course, that's going to be a great thing. But, I wouldn't say as a fan, you can't expect them to have any downfall. Like it's just going to happen. It's part of it. And it's needed because, if you don't face any adversity, then you're surprised when you do, right? Like I think part of the reason why Tampa was so successful the past couple of seasons was because after their, 62 win season, they didn't really face much adversity that entire year. And then they get in the first round and they get swept, and then after that, they win 2 straight cups. So like sometimes you kind of need to get the shit kicked out of you a bit just to like, sorry, I didn't mean to curse. I don't know if that's
No, you're good, man. Keep going.
but you know what I mean? Sometimes you just need that little kick in the ass to get you going and wake you up a little bit. So like, do we want the Rangers to go 82-0 before the playoffs? Like honestly, probably not. Like
No,
as sick as that would be, like first
no.
round, if they go down, like it's a place they haven't been. So you kind of want those spurts to happen. You just want them to happen at the right time. Like you want it to be in December and not in March, right? Like you want them to play their best when it matters most. So like, if they lose 5 or 6 games in December, I won't be concerned. But if they do that in March, I'll be like, oh shit, what's going on?
I wanted the Mets to go through that spurt, not in September and October, but
Yeah,
in June or
exactly the
July.
wrong time. Yeah.
Yeah, literally they were good all year. Again, yeah, and this is Ice Cold Takes, a New York sports podcast, so I am obligated to talk about the Mets on here. I don't know if you follow baseball pretty closely. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm a
know if
Mets fan.
all right, perfect. Love it. Yeah, so well, I guess we could kind of segue into that a little bit. But,
I mean, not a diehard, but I follow the Mets.
you can win 101 games in the season. You never really have a slump until the very end. Like, that's just the worst possible time for it to happen. Just you
Mhm.
couldn't have done it a little bit sooner. You couldn't have had that slump, in August instead of September. It's just the worst time imaginable. But yeah, I get what you're saying about, it's a long schedule, 82 games. Yeah, it's not 162 games like baseball, but you know, there's the wear and tear is it's there. It's noticeable. I mean, we're only in game two, and Keandre Miller has already got a big gash over his eye. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's gonna be losses. It's inevitable. You can't win every single game. And I look as a fan, you know, even from being a Mets fan, I look for the adversity. I'm wondering, I always have that in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, things are going way too well right now. When is shit gonna hit the fan? When is this
Mhm.
gonna happen? So, the Rangers won't go 82-0. I'd rather them not do that, like you said.
Mhm.
And iron out their mistakes now so that they don't make them in the playoffs. That's what I want to see.
Yeah,
And
no, I completely agree.
yeah, so far so good in the first two games. Lineup has not really changed too much, with the exception of the Kravtsov injury, and I don't think there's any need to make any changes. To be honest, like now, Lafreniere, absolutely terrific game on that second line tonight. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness, oh my goodness, this is what we've been waiting for. Um, it's like Dryden Hunt who, Kako who, Kravtsov who. Wow, no. Lafreniere is the guy to be on that second line, and none of us even knew about it. Like Kako looks really good on the first line, and I didn't think he should have been there. I thought Kako should
I
be with
agree.
Panarin. Yeah,
I agree.
Kako looks great now, and he's that's proved me. I had the Broadway block guys on last week, and Steve was saying that Kako, his skill set does match that of Zibanejad and Kreider's, and I didn't really agree with that, but now I'm starting to see it a little bit more. Kako's really good at handling the puck along the boards, and Zibanejad likes to get open in the middle for him, and if you could feather that pass to him, one-timers all day, and Zibanejad's got a good enough shot where he could get it over the goalie's shoulders. So
Mhm.
that's I think that's something we could look forward to, but I also want to talk. You mentioned Zach Jones earlier. He's looked great so far, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, no, I think he just came in with a ton of more confidence, especially I think after the Nils departure. Because that cuts his competition down one, right? So I think for him, it was just really about knowing if he was the guy or not. It's really hard when you're in and out of the lineup and if you make a mistake, you're probably coming out. So you tend to think a little bit more with your decision making. But I think Jonesy coming into camp, knowing it was his spot to lose for the most part, just kind of gave him a little bit of boost in confidence. And, he's kind of ran with it, right? And he's got so much skill. He's such a smart player. Like, he's pretty similar to Foxy, where he just sees the ice so well and really moves well along the blue line. And, he's not the fastest, biggest, or strongest guy, but just has that natural sense for the game. So, I think he'll be a staple in the lineup in that sixth
now
spot
we
for sure.
now we often say that with defensemen, if they're invisible, that means it's a good thing that they did their job. I think Jones made a couple of noticeable good plays tonight, like defensively. Yeah, I can't recall like what time in the period it was, but like he made a couple great defensive plays. There was one bad mistake that led to a goal. It was a garbage time goal. The score was 6-2, and I
Mhm.
wouldn't even sweat it. I thought Jones made some great moves on power play too tonight. Although they didn't score, some great moves. Defensively, he looked great. Schneider's been invisible. That means he's doing his job, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, so, I mean,
I'm still not used
that
to him in the number 4. I'm still getting
I
used to
am
that.
not either. I'm so thrown off by I don't know why he made that change, but, whatever, Schneider. You do you, man. He played well in his rookie year, and, he's playing well so far, I think. And
Mhm.
just as long as Lieber Hayek stays out of the lineup,
Mhm.
things are cooking over here in Rangers land, Rangers town.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, uh, let's just hope, knock on wood, everybody stays healthy, because last year everybody did, and, we were very fortunate for that. Uh, if there's an injury on defense, Hayek's going in. That's all we have. Um,
Mhm.
can you see the Rangers maybe making a move for a defenseman, a backup or like a 6th or 7th defenseman sooner rather than later, or is the cap space too tight, would you say?
I mean, I haven't really thought too deep into that. I know Arthur Staple was reporting that a little bit during training camp, that they were looking for like that Justin Braun type that they had last year, just that, veteran presence on the blue line, just to, be there and be reliable. But I don't think that's something they're thinking about at the moment. I think, if an injury does happen, it'll be, a big talk. But for now, I think it's just kind of, focus day to day and go with what we got. But I'm sure that will be a topic of conversation as the year goes on.
Yeah, it's still too early in the season, right? It's not really the time to have that discussion, I'd say, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think riding out the success is what the Rangers need to do. Keep up the momentum. Back to back games. You were telling me you think Halak gets the nod in game
Yeah.
3.
I'd say for sure that he gets to start tomorrow, and then Igor will start Monday night against Anaheim at home, I think.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what happens tomorrow, how the Rangers play. They're probably gonna play like you brought up before. I like that they're gonna back check a lot harder with the backup goalie in net because you know, um,
As a
Blocked my
player, I'm telling you, yeah. As a player, if you don't trust the guy in the blue paint as much, you definitely backcheck a little bit harder.
that's
Not that
that's
Halak's a bad goalie, but obviously when you have Igor back
no.
there, you know.
It's just like, oh yeah, Shesterkin's got it. Let me go for this line
Yeah.
change right now.
Mhm.
But let's talk more about game two. Game two, Rangers came out flying. 3 goals in the first period. First goal goes to Kreider on the power play, of course, in his usual spot in his office. Uh, Panarin just had a great game, man. Like,
Yeah.
what do you have? 4 points?
Mhm.
Yeah. So like, he was talking about how he needs to start being everywhere and doing everything. And so far through 2 games this year, he has done all of that. He's dangled. I think you posted the clip, right, of him deking out. Was it Hedman on Tampa Bay? Was
I don't
that
know if
you?
I don't know if that was me because I didn't watch, so I don't know if that probably was not me.
Okay, no, maybe it was not you.
I'm
Okay.
not even sure if I know the clip you're talking about.
Yeah, well, yeah, he made one of the defenders on Tampa Bay look like a fool. I have it. It's on my time on the TL.
Mhm.
Someone could go look it up. But
I'll have to find
yeah,
that.
yeah, he's looking good so far. Panarin's looking great. Trocheck looks good. Lafreniere is awesome. Oh wait, I can't believe I haven't even talked about this. Um, Going back to last year, Lundqvist retirement night. Lundqvist goes into the booth after his jersey gets raised to the rafters, and Minnesota's on the power play.
Oh my
Zuccarello
god,
has
yeah.
the puck.
Yeah.
Zuccarello has the puck, and he says, "Oh yeah, don't give that guy the puck." And Zuccarello immediately snipes it on Shesterkin,
Mhm.
and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Lundqvist, you jinxed it."
Yeah,
So
that was great.
of course, Lundqvist tonight or this afternoon tweeted out, "Hey, I'm back in MSG Studios with John and Steve. Tweet your questions and or what you want to talk about." So I, of course, tweeted, um, "Just don't mention Zuccarello's name, or else you'll have a hat trick tonight." And so John Giannone read the tweet on the pregame, and people were shouting me out, "Oh, Ice Cold Takes, you got your name right on the show." I was like, "What?" I was in a space, so I didn't even realize. So, I mean, I have to bring it up now to let the listeners know, maybe
Yeah.
those that aren't on Twitter. But yeah, I was on TV. Not my face, but like the
No,
account
it
name
was
was.
cool.
Yeah, that was really funny. And then Lundqvist kind of joked about it, how good Kaprizov was, and his line mate number 36 is what he said, because
Mhm.
he said he forgot his name. That was a very funny clip. But yeah, I
Mhm.
just wanted to throw that in there before we get back into the game two talk. Uh, what stood out to you uh, for this game? I know you were able to catch all of this one, right?
Yeah, I think it like I said before, I think it was really just the skill level from top to bottom. Like every line was making plays. Revo dropped the gloves, had a big fight. Um, Kako played super well, Kreider played well, Mika, Jones, like everyone just played well. Miller, and they're just like confident. They just look so you can tell that this group, now from a year ago with the experience that they gained last year is just a more confident bunch. And I think it was evident last year that they truly just love each other in the locker room. Like they're a very close, tight knit team. And, I think that's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow and make them even better. So I really just, I think the cohesiveness is something that I noticed a little bit, more tonight than ever before.
Did you notice that they were a little bit tighter tonight, like especially like Truba taking the body when the players were surrounding Shesterkin?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, protecting the house. That was definitely noticeable too. Like, Kreider like cross checks somebody in the face, Truba hit someone from behind. Like, obviously not ideal things, but it just goes to show you that they're not letting anyone touch Igor, and as they should, right? Because if Igor goes down, God forbid, knock on wood, then who knows where this thing could go. So, kudos to them for just really protecting their guy.
Yeah, I Truba always did that, and I think he's doing it. He did it more tonight than he's done. It was like, instead of just taking one guy on, he took 2 guys on at the same time. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I kind of like the look of Truba with the captain with the C. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it, but I kind
I'm
of
getting
like it. What
used
do
to
you
it.
think?
Yeah, I'm getting used to it. I'm honestly just getting used to seeing the sea in general. It's been a while, So, whether it was Truba or anyone else, it's just gonna take a little bit of getting used to.
I've only seen 1, 2, 3. This is my 4th captain I've seen since I started watching the Rangers. It was Chris Drury, Brian
Drew's your first
Callahan.
captain.
Yeah, yeah. Drury, Callahan, McDonough, Jacob Trouba. So, uh, a lot of to me, it's like high standards to live up to. Being
Yeah.
wearing the C and the organization is they didn't want to just hand it out to the next most qualified guy. Like, no, they wanted someone to go out and prove it. Like
Mhm.
you would see other organizations just hand it out and just be like, all right, yeah, here's the next most qualified guy. We need to have a captain here. C. Like, no, no, no. With the Rangers, it's a huge deal and it's got to mean something. And I like that. And if they held out for this long to name a captain and they finally named Trouba, then I trust their decision.
Yeah.
I trust it 100%, regardless of what the fans think and regardless of what I think. Like I thought Kreider should have been captain, but you know what? Trouba being captain, not a big deal. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, I mean, we're not really in the room, so we don't really know what goes on behind closed doors, you know? So, like, I think, to your point, what you just said, like, everyone who follows the Rangers and watches the social media clips and the press conferences, like, it seemed obvious that it was going to be Kreider, but, like, within the team and within the organization, we don't really know. Like, what do we know? So, um, I think it's been, more clear than ever that Trouba is the guy. So, I don't have anything bad to say about him.
Yeah, I mean, people will say what they want to say about him taking bad penalties or stepping up at the wrong time, but I think with the way he plays, like it's just what he does for the room, kind of like Reeves. The what he does for the room speaks louder than that stuff. The like a bad penalty here and there. I mean, of course, yes, the Tampa Bay penalties and stuff like Game 3 that obviously changed the series, and I still feel a certain way about that. But you know, if it's a regular season game and he takes a bad penalty, I'm not gonna I won't hold it against him. I still think I still think
Mhm.
he's a terrific human being. Like Emily Kaplan, I don't know if you saw it. Emily Kaplan did
Yeah.
a very nice look in between the relationship of Truba and his wife. And I really don't see that too often with hockey players. And that was just it was so touching and heartwarming. It was, like, actually genuine. It wasn't forced or anything. Like, he actually appreciates the relationship that he has, which I'm sure anyone would with their partner. It's just to see it exemplified or personified with Truba, it just stands out to me.
Yeah, just pure raw emotion, right? And that's something that I think all fans want to feel. You want to feel relatable to these athletes as people. I think anyone who's married would watch that and say, "Wow, like, that's like really what love is." So I think that's something nice to see out of these guys, which you might not typically get to see.
Yeah, and I think the Rangers, like, the younger guys, like, maybe Kakko or Lafreniere, they could look up I don't know what their dating life is like.
Yeah,
Not that I care. Uh
yeah.
people on Twitter were probably all into that. There could be another podcast for that kind of stuff, but not on my
Mhm.
show. Not on
I
my
care. I
show.
want Laffy to have a good love life.
Yeah, yeah. Sure, he'll meet somebody special one day for
Mhm.
sure. But like he could take those lessons for sure. He could see that that's you know like a mentor, like a leader figure for him. Um, but yeah, I think it's an overall good thing. Good vibes from the locker room last year, building off of what we had last year. I think the Rangers could go far this year. You have any big predictions for this year?
Like for the Rangers or just in
Yeah,
general?
yeah, for the Rangers.
Um,
We need an ice cold take from you.
well, I guess my like prediction, and this
Okay.
hopefully this is a nice cold take. I said they're gonna lose in the first round. So
Ooh,
let's hope that's a nice cold take.
let's
It's not
okay.
something I'm rooting for. It was just my thought. Like, after a year like they had last year, I think they're like the obvious choice for regression because it's it,
Okay.
it's hard to replicate what they did last year. Having a Vezina winning goalie, having a 50 goal scorer, having an MVP candidate, arguably in Artemi Panarin. Um, and then you lose the guys you added at the deadline that contributed so much to the playoff run. Also, you play against two backup goalies in round 1 and round 2. There's a lot of stuff that went the right way for them last year. And it's funny because like the team on the island, everything went the wrong way for them last year. So
Yeah.
like, it's definitely hard to have everything go the right way, and I think that's why I'm like just a little skeptical this year. I mean, I listen, I think they're a great team and I think they can do it. It's just this Eastern Conference is so good. And I don't know if you watched any other games tonight. Like, people are sleeping on the Penguins, dude. Like, the Penguins are sick. Like, they played so well tonight. The Crosby line had 20 shots on goal, just that line. Like,
they also played the Coyotes.
yeah, I know. And that's obviously, should be taken into a factor, but like, man, that they're still a good team. They have Stanley Cups on, they have the experience there. Like, they could easily go on a run. Tristan Jarry had a great year last year, and we only saw him in Game 7. Like, if he's healthy the whole first round, who knows if they come back from down 3-1. So like, there's so many different factors that happen throughout the year, and you need everything to go right if you're going to get to the Cup, right? Like, you need those things to happen. I mean, the Colorado team could have won plenty of years before last year, but Kadri gets suspended, and all these things just kind of happen that, like, have an impact on your playoff run and on your season. So, I guess that would be my ice cold take, is that the Rangers lose in the first round, because a lot of people are picking them to win the Stanley Cup, which, I'm rooting for. I hope I'm wrong, but that's just, my gut honest feeling.
That would be, if you say the Rangers are a first round exit and they end up winning the Stanley Cup, that would turn into old takes exposed. That would turn into a hot take.
Happily.
That would melt right there. Ice cold takes are right. That's the thing. Ice cold takes are right. Yes.
They are right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, really?
So I'll give you an example of an ice cold, and this could be fun too for our listeners.
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that ice cold takes were right. I had no idea.
On my show, yeah.
Okay.
There's freezing cold takes, which are the at old takes exposed on Twitter. And those are the guys where it's, someone
complete
says
opposite.
the complete opposite. Like, someone, let's say in 2020, someone says, mark my words, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have an MVP by the end of his career. And then he retires without an MVP, and it's like the worst season imaginable. And someone's like, got you, at old takes exposed that account. An ice cold take, on the other hand, is let's go back to the Eichel. This is a great example in my opinion. Let's go back to the Eichel trade talks. This occurred right before Fox won his Norris Trophy. So we weren't even sure. We didn't think, not everybody, it wasn't fully agreed upon that Fox was going to win the Norris. A lot of people were saying Hedman was going to win the Norris. So Fox was still developing at that stage. But we had someone on, Natalina Focarelli. She said, if Buffalo calls and asks in a potential package for Jack Eichel, Adam Fox, you hang up the phone right away, immediately. That's an ice cold take, I would say. Also, another ice cold take is Mike Rupp. When I had him on, he said, in the playoffs, you could put a blindfold on and only look at the third line, and that'll tell you everything you need to know about if a team is a Stanley Cup contender or not, because you're assuming that everybody's top two lines are going to be great. It's everybody else that you need to worry about. It's the bottom 9, or the bottom 6. Sorry.
No,
there you go.
I completely agree. Yeah. Yep. I'm happy I learned what the ice cold takes are. I wasn't sure, honestly.
Yeah. So there you go. So I hope that the Rangers don't get kicked out in the first round. But you bring up a good point that, it seems like it's hard to build off success like that. You went to the conference finals that year. Carolina did that a couple of years ago, right? Didn't they go to the conference final against Boston?
Yeah,
and then they haven't gotten to that same level of success, even though they've gotten better as a team, in my opinion. Would you say that the Rangers team this year is stronger than post deadline last year, or is it just about equal?
That's a really tough question. I wouldn't say it's stronger than post deadline, but at the same time, we don't know that answer for sure yet, because we haven't seen Kakko and Lafreniere put in those situations. So, like, Lafreniere and Kakko could be just as good as Kopp and Petrano were last year. They just weren't put in that position. So, like, I think last year's team was really strong, just because throughout the lineup, every single line pretty much had a scoring threat last year. Whereas this year, it kind of is the same thing, but I don't know, man. Like it's such a hard question to answer because when you really look at Vetrano, Kopp, Mott, and even Braun, like before they played a game for the Rangers, those guys weren't really big name players in the NHL. Like, they were solidified third liners,
Mhm.
so they came in and Frank Vetrano was just given an opportunity to play with Zibanejad and Kreider, and he thrived. He scored pretty sure he scored like 8 goals in the regular season and then like 5 in the playoffs.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, he had a lot. He had a lot.
that's like more than he even had before he even got to the Rangers. So like when you're put in a position to succeed, that's really all the difference it takes in a player's confidence, right? So like we're seeing the confident Kako, we're seeing the confident Lafreniere because they're being put in those positions. Like last year they weren't, and that's why you don't see the success that they're having already in the first 2 games. So I think it's going to be really hard to answer that question right now, but I would love to go in depth about this at the deadline this year because we'll have a much better idea of what this team is compared to the team post deadline last year.
Right, and, about putting the players in the positions that they need to be put in, like Kakko Lafreniere, it's kinda like how Jack Hughes, when he was made the guy in New Jersey, he thrived,
Mhm.
and, Kakko Lafreniere have I say it all the time on this show, people are gonna kill me because I keep saying it, but it's true. They're overshadowed by Panarin and Kreider, but now
Yeah,
that they're
as they should
along
be.
yeah, now they're alongside them where they should be now. At this point in their career, they should be there. They should have had as much ice time as possible under David Quinn. I don't know what the hell that guy was thinking. They should have had them as much ice time as possible, in my opinion. You could disagree with me.
Um,
Go ahead.
I just think like it's been a very confusing couple of years because that letter comes out, hey, we're rebuilding. We're breaking this thing down and we're gonna build it back up. But then you get Panarin, you get Trouba. You have like these big name players come in, and it's like, what are we rebuilding for? We still have Henrik Lundqvist in our goal. We just got a MVP candidate in Artemi Panarin. Like it's been a very confusing time because this rebuild has been accelerated so much, and it's like I think last year too, like the David Quinn thing is so interesting because when you're a coach, like you're playing to win, right? Like you're coaching for your job. You're not coaching for the next guy. So if you don't feel those kids are able to perform in those situations, you're not going to play them. Like it's just you got to learn. You got to have time in the league to really understand what it takes. And last year, even Gallant didn't play the kid line that much. Like they were getting 12 to 15 minutes a night because they hadn't been in that situation before. But now, after getting that experience, Gallant probably won't even hesitate to throw Lafreniere out there in the last 2 minutes of a game or Kako, in the D zone in the last 2 minutes of a game because they got that experience. And it really is important. Like you have so many nerves when you're thrown in that situation, and now knowing what to expect, it helps so much. So the David Quinn thing to me is such a weird timing situation. Um, I think you're almost going to see that in the sense with Lindy Ruff in Jersey because, like, you want to win games, but you're also, understanding what you have on your roster and that, like, it might take a little bit more time because you have younger guys and they need to learn. It's just a weird NHL thing, I think, and just I don't know. It's such a difficult thing to discuss because there's no right answer. Like, had Quinn played those guys more and they didn't perform, then it's like these guys are busts. Like they can't,
That's
So it's
true.
like it's just I'm trying to think of the term like a not like a what if, but kind of a lose situation, I guess, in
Mm.
that sense.
Yeah, so, like, as a coach, you wanna win every game. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. As a coach, you wanna win every game, but
I mean,
isn't
imagine
there
throwing Kako out there in the last minute and he like doesn't clear the puck and the other team scores and ties the game. Then his confidence gets
Yeah, but you
shot
also
and
don't
he's
know that that's going to happen though,
yeah.
right? Like, that's the whole thing with Quinn that he lost me on was the how he had Kako just practice dumping and chasing the puck. Like he kind of limited the kid's skill set to just one or two aspects, and
Mhm.
instead of just letting them fly, like I think there was a lot more freedom. Like look at Lafreniere, he was played all over the lineup last year, first line in the beginning. third line, second line, even at times, and he played well, in my opinion, in every single situation he was put in. Last year was a very good all around year, I think, for Lafreniere, and then the playoffs hit, and all the kids just like you said, that situation they were finally put in there, and they thrived, and
Mhm.
that was really their first moment where you know they had their welcome to the NHL moment. Keith
Well, let
Hernandez
me
talks like mentioned it on like the SNY broadcast. I think it was Keith Hernandez, like and Gary Cohen that they were talking about JD Davis, like, and he's saying that every player has a welcome to the league moment.
Mhm.
And I think that was that moment for Kakko, Hedo, Lafreniere. The threesome was in the playoffs. Game 1 against Pittsburgh. Even if that goal didn't count, I thought they
It
played
should
super
have.
well. It should have
Mhm.
counted.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let me ask you this too, right? Like, Gallant scratches Kako game 6 of the conference final. No, no, but you don't think he's in a sense also like trying to light a fire in his ass, like to work hard in the offseason and come back fired up? Like, look at this kid in the preseason in the first 2 games. Like,
Pretty risky
he's been the
though.
most impressive Ranger, right? Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you just gotta light a spark and like see how they react, you know?
Yeah, that is pretty risky. It's risky because the Rangers and their it have a not so good recent history with European first round picks.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know, man. In my opinion, I wouldn't have scratched him because I want him to experience defeat. If you're gonna lose, you go out like that. Like I want to see them celebrate on the ice, like and remember that moment. But in
Mhm.
a sense, you are right though that it's like, dude, you just scratched me in the biggest game of the year. What the hell?
Mhm.
Work
And that
harder.
I've
Come
been
back
there,
next
man.
year.
That feeling
I
sucks.
see.
I've been there.
That sucks. Okay. Yeah, yeah. No, I could see that too. That's it kind of goes both ways where you get that feeling where,
Mhm.
man, that sucks when you're watching the other team celebrate on the ice versus you know, not even suiting up for the biggest game of the year and the last
Mhm.
game of the season. Yeah, I didn't even think about it like that, but yeah, that's an I guess that's an even more old school, old style way of looking at it from Glant. Uh
Mhm.
yeah, Kakos look great so far though. You're right. And
Yeah,
I will if that's the reason for why he's working so hard, good for him, man. Love it.
bridge
Love
deal, has a lot to prove, you know?
yeah. The contracts are gonna be such a huge issue. Like right now there's 23 men on the roster. Rangers have got to figure out a way. I was listening to Mercogliano's podcast and he's saying that they have to figure out a way to get to 22 because it bumps up the cap space that they have
Mhm.
just by a little bit more by trade deadline. So maybe uh, I hate bringing this up because people are gonna kill me, but if Patrick Kane becomes available and another team's willing to eat salary, then go for it, man. Why wouldn't you? If there's
Yeah.
3 teams available, if it's a 3-team trade and you could eat salary on 2 ends, why would you not get Patrick Kane?
Mhm.
No? I don't know how you feel about all that.
I'm not I talked about that so much through the off season that, like, I can't talk about it anymore until it's, like, actually happening. I like,
It's
no
just like
no offe yeah.
Eichel.
Well, like, no offense, like, I love, like, don't get me wrong, I love trade deadline and talking about stuff, but, like, when the actual hockey's being played, like, I get it. In the off season, you gotta talk about it because it's like, there's not hockey going on right now, but when there's actual hockey being played, like, I don't give a shit about the trade deadline until it's actually happening. Like, I don't wanna focus on, like, the what ifs. I wanna, like, focus on this team and what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, like, what they need, like, not all these, like, intangible, you know, hypothetical situations. Because 'cause we're gonna trust me, when February comes around, it's all we're gonna be talking about is Kane coming? All this that's all it's gonna be. So, um, I just, I definitely try to avoid those conversations because so much is gonna change and what we're saying now could be completely different in 2 weeks and all that. So,
I
that's
appreciate
where I
your
stand on the Kane thing. I don't mean to
yeah.
shut you down on that, but I
No,
just
no, man. I appreciate your honesty. Go ahead. Shut me down all you
yeah.
want. Because when a Larry Brooks article comes out in 2 weeks saying
Exactly.
that the Rangers need a north-south hockey player,
Yeah.
everybody's gonna be screaming because apparently we need a north-south hockey player every single year. Like,
Mhm.
but yeah, Yeah, I mean the Kane discussions. It's certainly gotten annoying too. I love the player, but hockey's back, and I don't want to talk about that stuff now.
Love
I agree with you. I agree
it.
with you. Let the boys cook, and let's see what happens. But yeah, so far so good to the Rangers. The start of the regular season has been great, 2-0. Let's see if the Rangers could steal a home opening victory against against the Winnipeg Jets, who are under a new coach, former coach of the Stars, Rick Bowness. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Halak and net probably.
Mhm.
Gallant never likes to, reveal his secrets or whatever.
You
He
just have to
keeps
think
it
like a back to
you just
back,
have to think, yeah. It based on his what he did last year, it makes sense for him
Mhm.
to go with,
And you throw in the
Halak.
travel day as well. It's not like it's a home back to back, so
You got Halak for this reason, so why wouldn't you start him?
exactly.
Right, yeah. So, uh, I'd expect the lineup to remain the same and, Halak in net. Everything else,
Mhm.
boys, Rangers, they just gotta keep playing the way they've been playing, especially at 5v5, and everything's good. Johnny, you have anything else to add on before we wrap this up?
No, Joey, I appreciate it, man. This was fun and, always down to hop on whenever, so I appreciate
Yeah.
you having me.
All right. Ice cold takes, listeners. Take it easy. We'll see you guys next week.